Urgent Dirty Birds fan, look at what just happened. Nobody saw this coming, huh? But first, make sure to subscribe to the channel because we bring you daily videos with the latest Dirty Birds news, and don't forget to turn on notifications. So, you don't miss anything. Atlanta Falcons remaining 2025 draft picks following trade. So now the Falcons walked away with not one but two of the best pass rushers in this year's draft class, taking Jalon Walker at pick 15 and then trading back into the first round to select James Pierce Jr. with the 26th pick. The move back up to snag Pierce was expensive, costing the Falcons a second-round pick this year and a first-round pick in next year's draft. However, they did receive a late third-round selection in return. Here are the picks the Falcons have remaining after day one of the NFL draft. Atlanta Falcons, 2025 draft picks 15, Jalon Walker 26, James Pierce Jr. 101, third round 118, fourth round 218, seventh round. The Falcons only have 3 picks remaining, with their next selection coming at the very end of the third round. However, this is a very deep draft that will feature a number of immediate contributors littered throughout rounds 3 and 4. If the Falcons are able to come up with one more, along with Jalon Walker and James Pierce Jr., Terry Fontenot deserves his fair share of praise. Pausing this news just to say that if you want YouTube to keep recommending the latest Dirty Birds news to you, it's very important that you leave a like on this video. Thanks. Now let's get back to the news. Falcons. Terry Fontenot breaks silence on trading up for James Pierce Jr. Falcons GM Terry Fontenot reveals why he traded up to load up on edge rushers. When the Atlanta Falcons traded up to select James Pierce Jr., 11 picks after keeping Jalon Walker in Georgia for his professional career, it turned heads around the NFL draft world. Now sure, the Falcons' pass rush was historically bad in 2024, and they really did need a pair of rushers to unlock the ceiling of Raheem Morris' defense. But giving up a future first for an edge rusher, many thought could fall out of the first round? Goodness, that was a choice fans will be talking about for a long time. Well, after the first round, GM Terry Fontenot weighed in on the situation, explaining why he thought it was worth it to bring Pierce in after selecting Walker earlier in the draft. You know, with trades, it always gets to that point where you have to weigh out what you're actually doing and what you're doing it for, Fontenot said via SI. We look at the trade charts and all of that stuff, but at some point you have to look at, okay, who is the player, what are we really getting, and is it worth it? And that's what you really have to do. And when you have that kind of conviction and belief in the player, then that's when you're willing to do it. Outside of Abdul Carter, there wasn't a completely clean edge rusher in the 2025 NFL draft class, with both Walker and Pierce having questions about one aspect of his game or another. While there's no way of knowing if Walker or Pierce will hit or bust, adding 2 players with very high upside could not only help to mitigate that risk, but actually give the team a pair of long-term starters if they both hit. Factor in the presence of Leonard Floyd and David Onyemata, and who knows, maybe the Falcons will be able to get after quarterbacks this fall and look like a completely different team with Michael Penix Jr. under center. Falcons may be free of Mike Evans soon after latest Buccaneers pick few rivals have garnered the respect from Falcons fans that Mike Evans has earned. The veteran receiver has been a consistently dominating force, whether it was Jameis Winston, Tom Brady, Baker Mayfield, or a placeholder, the starter hasn't mattered. Evans simply finds a way to help his team move the football. As much respect as Evans has earned, there isn't a single Atlanta fan who is going to shed a tear when Evans decides to finally hang it up. Something that perhaps is growing a bit closer with Tampa's selection on Thursday night. With the 19th overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, Tampa Bay selected receiver Emeka Egbuka. The Ohio State product is a huge target the Falcons will be reluctant to face twice each season. However, perhaps this surprise selection signals the end is nearer than expected for Mike Evans. The veteran receiver will be 32 at the start of the 2025 season and could begin to show signs of aging. The level of physicality Evans has played with for so long is bound to catch up to the veteran. Tampa's selection of Egbuka raises questions for respected division rival Mike Evans. More likely explanation for this pick would be the future of Chris Godwin. The veteran resigned with the Bucs but is coming off a devastating 2024 injury. The team could be looking at this as a chance to replace either Godwin or Evans. Best case scenario, both veterans are able to return to form, and the Bucks have the scariest trio of receivers in the division. A scenario Atlanta fans are now dreading as they continue to attempt to return to the playoffs for the first time since the 2017 season. Tampa starting to turn the page from either Evans or Godwin is good news for Atlanta fans. This isn't meant to disrespect Egbuka, but pointing out the reality of what both veteran receivers represent and the consistent production they have put up against Atlanta. Falcons trade for James Pierce Jr. leaves key starter on thin ice, the Atlanta. Falcons kicked off their draft by selecting Georgia linebacker Jalen Walker with the 15th overall pick. This was expected to be the team's only selection on Thursday night before a surprise blockbuster trade with the Rams gave Atlanta a chance to select pass rusher James Pierce Jr. The move was a much-needed boost to a unit that has remained in the bottom half of the league for the last half-decade. However, the move came at a steep cost, with the Falcons giving up their 2026 first-round pick and this year's second-round selection in their effort to trade back into the first round. It was an unexpected move for a team that was thought to be searching for ways to add picks, not spend them. However, it did provide hope for the first time since the 2016 season that this Atlanta defense is finally seeing meaningful improvement. With that improvement is going to come changes, likely meaning that one notable Atlanta pass rusher has just fallen out of the team's starting lineup. Arnold Ebiketie appears to have lost his starting role in Atlanta's defense. Jalen Walker was such a valuable pick based on the defender's ability to line up in a myriad of roles. Walker doesn't displace anyone on Atlanta's defense, but simply makes the unit far deeper. The same can't be said for edge rusher James Pierce Jr., who clearly will be starting in Week 1 for Atlanta. You don't spend a future first-rounder in this year's second to add a player who is going to begin the year on the bench. Atlanta's level of investment tells us how they view the edge rusher, and in turn what it means for Arnold Ebiketie. The edge rusher is entering his fourth year in the league and was expected to be a starter alongside veteran addition Leonard Floyd. The decision to move up for Pierce is going to push Ebiketie back to the bench in a rotational role. This is a good move for the Falcons, one that makes a shaky unit far deeper. With the contributions of Floyd, Caden Ellis, and Jalon Walker, Atlanta has a real chance of having a capable pass rush. While capable may not be a description that satisfies fans of other teams, for Atlanta it would be an unquestionably welcomed upgrade after years of inept pass rushing rotations. It is unfortunate for Ebiketie, who appeared in line, to finally have a chance to receive starting snaps. However, the edge rusher will still remain a vital piece of the Atlanta defense as the team continues to build a suddenly impressive group of pass rushing options. Is a Kirk Cousins trade more likely after the first round of the NFL draft? The first round of the NFL draft is in the books, and it was an unexpectedly wild night for the Falcons, as they came away with not one but two pass rushers in Jalon. Walker and James Pierce Jr., Atlanta's single biggest need of the last 2 decades, has been addressed in a significant manner, which Terry Fontenot should be praised for today, even if the Falcons don't have many more picks at their disposal. If no more trades are made, Atlanta will pick just 3 times over the final 2 days of the draft. However, that might not be their only focus. Several NFL insiders have hinted that this could be the time a Kirk Cousins trade is completed, with Diana Rossini mentioning 3 interested parties. The Browns, Steelers, and possibly Vikings could be involved in a Cousins trade, Rossini writes. If Rossini is correct, last night was good for the Falcons in more ways than one. None of those organizations took a quarterback, and while guys like Shadur Sanders and Jalen Milroe remain on the board, the fact that they weren't first-round picks suggests nobody is expecting them to step in and be a day-1 starter. The Browns recently signed Joe Flacco to join Kenny Pickett in their quarterback room. As of now, those two will battle for the starting job. However, NFL insiders aren't completely ruling out Cleveland tripling down and reuniting Kirk Cousins with Kevin Stefanski. The Steelers continue to wait on a decision from Aaron Rodgers, who has said publicly he's still mulling retirement, but most expect him in black and gold by the time Week 1 arrives. If that happens, Pittsburgh is no longer a landing spot, so it's something Falcons fans should keep a close eye on in the coming days. Rossini refers to a reunion with the Vikings as the least likely destination, as Minnesota hopes JJ. McCarthy is ready to take over the reins as the team's starting quarterback. That question, however, won't be answered until much further down the road. The Vikings should also feel comfortable waiting on a potential Kirk Cousins trade, compared to other teams, considering Cousins is already very familiar with the offense. And now, Dirty Birds fan, I want to hear from you. What's your opinion on this? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I don't know if you know this, but your opinion matters a lot for Dirty Birds. He'll be back any moment with more Dirty Birds news. ATL, rise up.